Welcome, everyone. Thank you all for joining us today at the Ask Us Anything About the GSA Town Hall. My name is Marcella, and I'll be moderating the Town Hall this afternoon. Please note that this session, including the chat and the Q&A, will be recorded. The GSA may share this recording via our website or social media channels. I first want to call upon Christine Cow to help us acknowledge the territories in which we find ourselves today.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Marcella. Sorry, I'm having some technical difficulties, as you expect. Yeah. So thank you everyone for joining us today at our town hall. I am speaking today in the spirit of respect, reconciliation, and acknowledgement of truth that we honor the traditional territories of Treaty 7 in Southern Alberta, and specifically my home in Northeastern Calgary. Treaty 7 is the home of the Blackfoot Confederacy, the Siksika, Kainai, Piikani, as well as the Stoney Nakoda and Tsuut'ina nations. Treaty 7 is also the home to the Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3, within the historical Northwest Métis homeland. I am the child of immigrants who saw new beginnings in Canada. Too often we have taken this land for granted, not recognizing these lands were stolen before us, not ready to bear the responsibilities because it wasn't my ancestors that did it. It wasn't my history. More and more, I am recognizing the contradictions which exist in that logic. I am enormously grateful for the opportunity to call myself Canadian, but that opportunity was built on a history of oppression. As I take place in this country, I also inherit its good, its bad, and its ugly past. I am a steward of this land, and I will continue to honor and celebrate the land itself and all people who call it their home. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. So for today's town hall, I ask that you submit your questions via the Q&A box, I think it's below here, that you can find in the toolbar at the bottom of your screen. This way we can track which questions have been answered and provide any links in the answer for you guys to see. So because we only have a limited amount of time for this town hall, some questions may be answered in the Q&A box by our GSA staff who are helping us today. We'll try to answer as many questions as possible, but we may have to connect you outside of this town hall if we can't answer your questions. So today I'm joined by, and I'll ask you to wave yourselves, the GSA President, Chanil Chandro, our VP Academic, Alex Paquette, our VP External, Christine Cow, our VP Finance and Services, Kabira Baral, our VP Student Life, Mary Zhang, and last but not least, our Associate VP Labour, Kira Gan. So let's get started. So some of the questions have been submitted in advance, so we will start with those. And this one, I think I will direct to Tanil. So why don't the GSA has a mature student coordinator?
Oh, you froze on my end. I hope my internet stability is stable throughout this, but I apologize in advance if it's not. That is a very interesting question. It's something that we've actually never thought about, mostly because our graduate student population is relatively all mature students or categorized as so, but that's definitely something that we now can consider. moving forward. And if anyone, whoever submitted this question, or if anyone else is looking for a mature student coordinator, if you have any ideas of what that person's role would be, how it would help you, kind of what you envision, what that would look like, we would be happy to hear it and look at creating that role, because we always want to be representing our students the best our ability. And if that's how you need representation, then 100% we're here to help support that. Thanks, Marcella.
Thank you, Taniel. So the next one is also, I think, to Taniel or maybe to Kabira. I want to be part of the GSA as a volunteer, but I'm currently in India. How can I apply, or how can I be more involved?
Absolutely, I can tackle that question. That is so fantastic. We always love when people want to get involved with the GSA. We have a ton of committees. I think we have 7 committees, a working group. So if you're looking to volunteer with one of our committees, I would encourage you to read their descriptions on our website. And there's a little tab on our website that says Get Involved, has the committee list there as like a subcategory. Please read through it and see what fits best for you. We also have a volunteer list. Whenever anybody reaches out to the GSA to look for graduate student volunteers, this kind of master list to connect you with those volunteer opportunities, and we can absolutely put you on that list. So if anyone is ever interested in volunteering with the GSA, there's lots of opportunities. Kind of just explore our website, see what fits best for you. I like to say we have a little bit of something for everyone. So please check it out and go ahead and send us. There's always kind of an email attached to any committee or group, and they'd be happy to hear from you, because we always are trying to connect graduate students to enhance their student experience.
So just confirming, everything in the GSA now is online, so you can join from anywhere, yeah?
Oh, that is something else I want to touch on. We have so many committee members all around the world. So absolutely, this is such a unique year where we absolutely have committee members and volunteers in India, Nepal, just everywhere you can imagine. And it's so fantastic. We try to adjust some of our meeting times to kind of fit the time zone changes that are happening now, but we're working through those kind of challenges as they come up. So no, now there is no restrictions to join any of these. We are happy to have you, and it's all online, mostly on Zoom. So yes, thank you for bringing that up, Marcella. I did want to touch on that. We have lots of committee members from everywhere, so please don't let that be you joining our team.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Taniel. So the next question is for Kabira. It's on the LDL. And the question is, why does the GSA keep holding the LDL when the bar has had losses for the last 4 years? So they talk about the quality of student life that doesn't change when the LDL does not exist, but the graduate student life can be better if the GSA invests this money in something else that can help graduate students, especially given the tuition hike that we'll be facing soon.
Thank you so much for the question. And I think you make some valid points in there. And yes, while the LDL has been closed for this year because of COVID and nothing really is taking place in person, but what you really have to recognize, I think, is something that's not really appreciated about LDL is that it's a space that we get. So for example, if we have election results that we get announced, or some of the events that we had in person, for example, Halloween party, Christmas party, those are the events that we can run an LDL for, because it is the space that we have for the graduate students. However, let's imagine the scenario where LDL did not exist, then we would have to rent a place, which means that it would cost us a bit more to rent a place, and sometimes it's not really easy to find a venue just when we have to organize an event and to provide a space. Like, for example, on the students union side of things, they have a space, right? And right, like that, for us, it is equivalent. The equivalent is LDL, and I recognize that, and we recognize as a GSA that we have been on loss the past few years. However, we have been also working to improve and make sure that the loss is not very high, and really working towards finding other strategies to ensure that we start compensating, or like making sure that the loss gets narrower, and maybe in in the upcoming few years, it just goes down and then we have it on the profit side. So really the value of LDL is that it provides with that space, which unfortunately, if it were not to exist, then we would have to rent some other places, and the cost would have been, and the consequences would have been a bit harsher for us. That is why we continue having LDL there. And yeah, that is the main reason why we continue having LDL, just to provide that space for us to hold some of the events, and also for grad students to have that space, which is equivalent to some of the spaces that Students' Union have. I hope I answered it well for you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Kabira. So the next question, I think, goes to Tanu again. So it's about the UPass in the winter term. So the UPass fee was charged in the winter tuition for 2021, even though I don't use the service. Can we opt out from the service for the winter 2021?
For sure. So the UPass, it's been recently announced that the UPass will not be a program for winter 2021. So even if you see it, I didn't think it was listed as a fee right now, but if it is listed, it'll be removed prior to fee deadlines. Similarly, some fees, like the recreation fee this past semester, was removed after the payment deadline. And so which was advocacy on Christine's part. So fantastic job on Christine. So once that was kind of all resolved, it was actually reinstated as a reimbursement. So that shouldn't be a fee on your account, but if it is, anticipate that it'll be removed. We have no sort of update about spring summer of what the UPass will look like. It's a kind of third-party agreement with the city of Calgary. And so right now we're advocating to them to kind of fit the needs as the university continues to change. And we will continue to update students as we get more. But for winter 2021, you can anticipate that it won't be running as a program. The ticket book sales will be running website, and on the UPass website, there'll be a link to the new ticket book program where you can purchase a pack of 10 tickets at a 40% discount. And they're sold at various locations across campus, and they're all listed on the website. So I encourage you to go check that out. But no, you can't opt out for winter 2021 because it won't be running at all. So everyone will be automatically opted out.
Thank you, Tanu. So for those arriving now, you can ask questions through the Q&A box in your toolbar, like right on the bottom of your screen, and we'll be answering them in the order they come. So the next question is for Alex. What if a student have any concerns about some academic issues, such as delayed in the degree program because of COVID or other reasons, or they have issues with their supervisors, who they should look for?
Thanks, Marcella. So as VP Academic, I would handle those issues. The first thing I recommend the student to do is send me an email. And then we just have a conversation, just me and you. It's confidential, so it's just between you and me. No one else knows. And there, depending on your situation, so let's use the example of a student supervisor conflict, I would then direct you to the next person. And then I would go along with you through this pathway that I'm leading you down. So anytime you would have more concerns or you would need someone to advocate for you, I would be the one to do that. So I would say if any issues come up with that, student supervisor conflicts or delay in your programs, please send me an email. We'll have a conversation about it and we'll get you back on track. Thanks.
Thank you, Alex. Sort of a follow-up question from this one, but for Akira this time. So if I'm a TA and I noticed that a lot of TAs have been overworking because of COVID, and how can we assess this issue and what can we do in terms of our academic employed graduate students?
Yeah, thank you. So from what I'm hearing from various sources is that on average, probably most TAs are doing about 5 to 10% extra work compared to before. And for a lot of them, that's probably putting you over your contract. In most situations, it's a pretty simple solution. You would just go talk to the instructor of record, or as a group, you might do that, or you would go and talk to whoever is responsible for that in the department for handing out TA assignments. Usually that goes really smoothly, and if you've gone over your hours, you're done, and they get somebody else to finish the assignment. In some departments, that culture doesn't really exist. Sometimes there's a culture that is where it's heavily frowned upon to complain about overworking or just to complain at all. And in those situations, I know that there are some TAs or RAs out there as well who are possibly afraid to come forward with these types of complaints. So one of the things I am doing right now is making a big push to connect with graduate students in the next few months so that we can learn about these types of systemic issues and hopefully try to deal with them without having to have complainants give their name, so that we can do this more anonymously when these are department-wide issues where every TA or lots of TAs are affected. So really, I need to know about it. So send an email to the LRC and let me know about it. And then I go forward and work with HR or FGS to try to look into the situation and have it fixed.
Thank you so much, Kira. So Tania, we have a follow-up question from the first question regarding why does the GSA does not have a mature student coordinator? And by a mature student, they meant from 40 to 60 years old. So is there any programs in the GSA for mature students? Can you talk about that?
For sure, and thank you for following up. Find that that's kind of the age range you were talking about as a mature student representation. So absolutely, all of the events and all committees, everything is open to all GSA members. So anyone in those age can participate in anything that we have going on right now. But I also recognize that there are some separate needs and that this group might want to, interact and kind of, create a community within themselves as well. So what I'm interested to learn, and if you wanted to connect offline with me, I'd love to do, because we can kind of look at some of these needs. Is it events needs or student life needs about creating, more opportunities for them to network and workshops and learn more about kind of that aspect? Is it advocacy needs of things that they need that's separate than some other graduate students, more around our average population? Or is it academic? Are there more struggles? We do recognize that there's lots of caregiving that happens in graduate school, whether it be your children or your parents, et cetera. And so there's some of those other needs that kind of, sprinkle among the executive portfolios. But if there is a better way to address the mature students in the 40 to 60-year-old range, absolutely, we want to look at the different opportunities for that and how to build that into the GSA framework, because we definitely have members that are in that the mature student range that you mentioned. So if we can identify those exact needs, we can look at what's best to represent them. Is it a committee that's specifically for them? Is it a student group? Is it a DGA? It probably wouldn't be a DGA because it wouldn't be so departmentalized, but there's so many different avenues in the GSA that we can look at the different opportunities and really address that, because I agree that is 100% an issue that we should be looking at.
Thank you, Tania. Now a follow-up question regarding UPass, and I think Christine can answer this one. So since we have that UPass is cancelled for both fall and winter terms for sure, what are other affordable transit options available for students who have to go to campus still?
Yeah, thank you for the question. So like we have already said, UPass is effectively canceled until the end of April 2021. But that doesn't mean that you don't have options to access transit or access the university campus. So the university's ancillary services is selling booklets of 10 transit passes at a 40% discount. This is something we fought very hard for back during the summer to ensure that there is still discounted transit passes available for everyone. You can purchase them with at several locations. If you are on the main campus, you can purchase them at the main campus bookstore. If you're on the Foothills campus, you can purchase them at the Foothills campus bookstore. So you have that option there. And alternatively, you can also apply for the Fair Entry program with the City of Calgary. So the City of Calgary offers a program for anyone that earns their annual earning is below a certain threshold. So you can go to their website, check if you qualify for their program, which typically if you are a graduate student living alone, the amount of money you make makes you qualified for that program. And then you can obtain a very steeply discounted monthly transit pass through that program as well. I can put the link of that program in the chat for anyone that is interested.
Thank you so much, Christine. For those arriving now, this is the GSA town hall. There is a Q&A box on the toolbar right below, right at the bottom of your screen. So you can just send in questions and we'll be answering them in the order we get them. So the next question is for Mary, and it's regarding mental health. So what is available right now as mental health support from the GSA?
So in the GSA, we have a mental health and wellness subcommittee, and they have been doing such great work this semester to promote the mental health awareness to grad students. They have had 2 really successful workshop events and a series of de-stress week events, which just passed a week ago. They have also wrote a GSA blog on all the works that they have been doing and the plan they have in the future, the goal of the subcommittee for this term. I would recommend you to read through their blog and find out what they're doing. So in our health and dental plan, we are also offering the Empower Me program. It is a short-term mental health support that connects you with the appropriate support that you need. You could either call, it is 24/7 available to you. You could also use the app, which was released recently. Please refer to our health and dental page for more details on the Empower Me program. I think that's all I can think of right now. Thanks, Marcella.
Thank you, Mary. The next question is for Kabira. It's regarding the health and dental plan. So how can students make claims? Where do they go for? And how do they know what's covered or not by the health and dental plan?
Thank you so much for the question. So on the GSA website, what we have is we have this page specifically for health and dental plan, and there you can find all the information for health and dental plan. And if you look at the right side or on the bottom, you also get a form where you can claim it. So for example, if you already purchased, say, some prescription medicine, and what you can do is you can just get your receipt, you can take a picture of it, and then you can submit it to us with that form. And or alternatively, what you can do is you can download the little claim card or even the app, and then you can just go to your healthcare provider, and then you can just show them the card or the app, and then they'll just be able to see it and then register it in the say the pharmacy that you usually go to. And then for that, they just keep you registered in there, and then if you do it once, then you don't really need to keep doing it because they have it in your record. So I would recommend that to be the first one. And in terms of what services are provided, again, we have the details of all the services provided, but briefly, we have wide range from prescription medicine to your dental services, which are all the dental services that, except for the braces or some that are except for the cosmetics ones, we have all of them covered there, and also some eye services, and also some of the psychological care. So including Empower Me, again, like Mary already mentioned. So really, we have all the details there. And in addition, we also have some of the, say, for example, in case of dental, we also have some of these dentists or clinics that around Calgary where you could get an additional discount if you go to their services. So I would highly recommend to do that. That way you are not only saving money, but saving more money. And yeah, like really recommend that. And I will put in my email in the chat box. And if you have any further questions about anything, please feel free to reach out to me and I will be sure to answer that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Kabira. And all the links that Kabira just mentioned are actually in the chat box. I think everyone can see them. The next question is for Alex. I think it's for Alex. So there has been a lot of talk about tuition increase. Is there any initiatives from the GSA regarding minimum funding increase? And what's the overall plan about minimum funding in the university now?
Thanks, Marcella, for that great question. So this is something both myself and Tennille are working on, and something we're really, really excited about. Something that all 5 of us, all 6 of us actually support. So one of the options that we're looking at is increasing minimum funding. So right now, as many of you know, tuition is on the rise. And to tackle this problem, one thing that we're really, really looking at is increasing the $18,000 that PhD students typically get for their minimum funding. Now, some obviously get more than that. That is true. But increasing that minimum funding might help basically even out the effect you're having from the increase in tuition. We're also looking at possibly getting minimum funding for master's students as well. Right now, we're in discussions with me and Tennille are deep in discussions with the FGS about this and doing a lot of research, looking at minimum funding at other universities and seeing how they're doing it and seeing how we compare to the U15. And what we're hoping to do is put together a proposal, bring this to FGS and the other faculties, and propose that minimum funding should increase. So the process has started. Hopefully by April 30th, 2021, you'll see that the minimum funding has increased. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Alex. The next one is for Christine, and it's also in the tuition increase area. And what are the other things that the GSA is doing to support, to fight the tuition increase, or how is the GSA fighting the tuition increase in the government side of things?
Yeah, thank you for that question. So to give everyone a brief background, the GSA have officially submitted our tuition counter proposal to the Board of Governors, and it will come to a vote on December 11th. So we have fought very hard for lowering tuition increase, for increasing the overall educational experience of our graduate students, and especially on that piece Alex has already mentioned on increasing minimum funding. And I also want everyone to understand that university funding is heavily tied to the provincial government. So this is a provincial politics issue. And a large reason why we are in our current financial situation is because we received a heavy budget cut around last year. So I really want everyone, if you are available, to support us in writing to your MLAs, sharing your story about how important your graduate education is, sharing why it is important for the provincial government to fund our post-secondary institutions. You can write to me about your experiences, and I can take them to our government official meetings whenever we have them. So the more story we have, the more anecdote we have, the stronger of a campaign it will be, especially moving forward, where we will definitely be having constant conversations with the provincial government on the topic of how much should our universities be funded.
Thank you, Christine. The next question is for Mary. So what's the status of the sponsorship program that the GSA was working on?
Okay, thanks for that question. So the sponsorship program is a new initiative that me and Kabita and also GSA staff has been working on this semester. We have streamlined the process of this program. We have prepared all the documents, for example, the marketing materials, contracts, and some email templates. So we have shortlisted the sponsors, the potential sponsors that we would like to contact in the near future. We have done the business profiling, just make sure they are the appropriate sponsors that the GSA would like to work with. Yes, so hopefully in 2021, we're able to secure some sponsors and bring some revenue to the GSA.
Thank you so much, Mary. So the next question is for Kira, and it's on RAs and TAs. So they want to know how are RAs and TAs selected in each department, and if there is any reference documents that they could go for to look into that.
Okay, as of right now in the collective agreement, there's not really any guidelines for how TAs and RAs are hired beyond whether or not if you have guaranteed funding, you are guaranteed a position. Aside from the fact that graduate students are supposed to be employed before any undergraduates are, but other than that, there does not appear to be much. And that is definitely one of the things that are on a list of requests that we're hoping to put in for the next collective agreement. So hopefully the next time around, we can actually have something like that in there that ensures fairness and equity of opportunity, hopefully for all graduate students to be employed.
Thank you, Kira. The next question is for Tennille, and it's on the winter semester. So what will the winter semester look like for in-person class and teaching components?
Awesome. Thanks, Marcella. So right now, the winter, they announced that it'll be a 30% blended model. This last semester, so the fall 2020 semester, it has been kind of around a 20% blended model. So 20% in person, 80% online. They're looking to shift that to a 30% model. So bringing more students back to campus. And that was announced kind of mid-semester, and we haven't had any updates. We work at a lot of tables, all 6 of us, where we're brainstorming with them of how to bring students back safely and advocating for students when they don't feel safe, especially Kira on the graduate academically employed graduate side. But as of right now, there's been no updates about if that will decrease with the increasing numbers of COVID in the city. So we will continue to update students as we gain more information. But right now we're looking at a slightly increased face-to-face component of teaching and learning at the university.
Thank you, Tennille. So the next question is for Kabira. Are students allowed to take a look into GSA's finances, or only restricted people can look into that?
Oh, thank you, Marcella. That's an excellent question. Actually, the GSA tries to be as transparent as we can, especially regarding our finances, because most of the source of our revenue is from students. So yes, you're allowed to look into it. If you would like to look at the details of the finances, then you can send me an email, and I'll make sure to either send our finances statements to you, or even arrange a one-on-one meeting with you so I can explain and go through it point by point with you. And yes, if you have ever any questions about our finances and how it looks like on the internal side of things, please feel free to reach out to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Kabira. So the next question is for Alex. When will the GSA announce the GSA Citizenship Excellence Award?
Thanks for your question. So actually this past week, all winners of that award were sent an email, and their names were forwarded to FGS. So if you would have won that award, you would have heard this week on Tuesday morning. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Alex. So the next question is for Kira on TAs and RAs. So why some TAs are not getting paid as much as others from the same department?
Okay, one answer to that question might be that they're under different portioned GAT contracts, so different numbers of hours. However, if they are assigned the same hours, all graduate TAs should be making the same amount of money under the collective agreement. And all graduate TAs should actually be employed under the title Graduate Assistantship Teaching. So if you are a graduate TA and you have a different title than that, such as reader demonstrator, you actually shouldn't be employed under that title, very likely. So if that is the case, it is actually really important that you reach out to me and let me know, because in all likelihood, you should actually be making the same amount as your fellow TAs and employed under a different contract.
Thank you, Kira. So the next question is for Christine. So how is the GSA supporting international students that cannot come to Canada due to border restrictions?
Yeah, thank you for the question. This is actually a question we've been getting since the border closed back in March. It's been a long journey since then. So in our advocacy efforts, we made it very clear to both the federal and the provincial portfolios that we value all of our international students, and we want them to be here in Canada safely and continuing their education. So we're very happy to announce that as of October 20th, the IRCC has lifted travel restrictions for international graduate students to come to any of their enrolled university that has a COVID plan. And we're happy to say that the University of Calgary is one of those universities. So if you're a graduate student that was accepted to U of C, you can apply and physically come to attend your studies here now. So as of October 20th. And we also, in this process, realized that there are several other areas that we can be supporting these students on in terms of their quarantine experience, in terms of their education experience afterwards. And those are some of the advocacy topics we will be continue to fight on from now on.
Thank you, Christine. Just a follow-up, and I think Tania will be able to answer this one. So because they have to quarantine for 14 days, that can be a very big financial burden for some students. Are there any programs available that could help those students financially?
For sure. Thanks for the question. So first, let me say that there is a new program at the Calgary airport that if you fly directly into Calgary, there's an expedited quarantine process, it's a pretty nuanced process. So I would look into it, and it's for only if you're flying from out of the country to Calgary. If you land in any other Canadian airport and transfer to Calgary, it becomes void. So I would first look into that, because that program is about a 7-day quarantine period instead of 14. So there are those two different options. In terms of the 14-day period, or 7-day quarantine period, any sort of quarantine period once you're actually here, we have been working hard with the institution to look into different financial options for any international students who need financial help. Right now, we're in the works of getting something in place. If students are really stressed about this, we always encourage students towards our GSA emergency bursary, which is a bursary application system where we will provide you with emergency funds based off of your application for certain situations. So please, if you are strapped and wondering how you'll financially get through that, please go to that program and keep your ears out for any other sort of programs, because this has recently been brought to light that this is a major issue at the University of Calgary, and we're working on different programs that could be in place for the winter semester to be able to support graduate students coming here for the first time.
Thank you, Tennille. So for those, for our attendees, you can ask questions by clicking on the bottom of your screen. There is a Q&A session. We are using the questions that are being sent through that tool there. So the next question is for Alex about the Peer Beyond. So every year, the GSA has the Peer Beyond conference. Will we have the conference this year? And how is the conference going to be if we have it?
Thanks, Marcella, for that question. So yes, we will be having the Peer Beyond conference, and we're all really excited to still be having this conference. But the conference is going virtual, which means it'll be online using a new program called Hopin. So myself and the GSA staff and also the Academic Support Committee have been working away on the conference itself. There will be a main stage where you could present your talk. There will be a poster section or an exhibit section as well. On top of that, we'll have many awards and prizes available for you to win, more than any other year. So we're really looking forward to holding the event this year virtually, and really hoping that you'll attend. So sign up and sign up soon. Thanks.
Thank you, Alex. So the next question is for Kabira on the GSA, the Graduate Student Sustainability Award. So the students saw an advertisement for that award, and they want to know how they can apply or where they can go for more information.
Thank you for the question. So just on December 1, our application nomination process opened. So it will be open until February 3. And this award is specifically for students, graduate students whose work project or side project, either of them is related to sustainability. And yesterday we had our workshop as well, and you can find the recorded video of it in the Office of Sustainability website, as well as our website very soon. And besides that, yes, so the way it works is you can either nominate yourself, or someone else can nominate you, and you can nominate multiple of your friends. And if you go to the Office of Sustainability website, then there is the entire detail of how the application process looks like and what is the requirement. And so after you finish your application, you just have to send it to Office of Sustainability, and I will put in the email where you have to send your application to in the chat box. And yes, I think I answered everything. Was there any additional stuff there? I feel like it was a long question.
No, I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
So the next question is for Tenyo, and it's on the tuition increase discussion. They want to know the status of the discussion and what's going on. I think Christine already talked a little bit about it, but
for sure. Yeah, Christine touched on it a little bit, but if you trickled in afterwards, so we have had quite a few meetings about the tuition increase discussions where proposals have been proposed to us, and we've given counter proposals, and it's been a long process since about the beginning of October, end of September. So the final presentation will be given at the Board of Governors meeting on December 11th. In the morning. So there is an open observer spot. So you can look on the Board of Governors website at the University of Calgary if you wish to attend and watch that. And that is kind of when the proposal will be put in place, and it will be finalized after that date if the proposal gets voted through.
Thank you. Yeah, there is more questions on tuition, so I'll keep you on. Students are asking, because we cannot protest physically, are there any campaigns for signatures collection that the GSA has initiated? What can be done to support the GSA reps on that December 11th BOG meeting? And do we have a survey to understand which students are being affected by the tuition hike, and how can the GSA support them? Sorry, it's a long question.
Totally, that's like 3 parts. Okay. I will actually hand the first couple parts off to Christine, but I can address the third part, or maybe ask for clarification. I don't know if I'm going to address it. The survey, sorry. So they're asking for if we're sending out a survey to see who will be impacted by the two. Okay. So the graduate student tuition proposal is very nuanced and broken down by department. Like you can pretty much find your exact slot on the proposal. So we know who will be impacted the most by that. I think if you're asking like compoundly, like your own individual experience, we are always looking for that feedback. So you can either send that to myself or to Christine's email, and I'll get the team to put it in the chat there. Either our 2 emails, reach out to us and let us know how this impacts you, and we can definitely pass that kind of along and incorporate it into our proposal, our counter proposal of how this tuition increase impacts the graduate student body. And then I'll hand those first 2 questions back to Christine.
Yeah, thank you, Tenyo.
Yeah, so just looking at the question, the first question is on a campaign to collect signatures. So far we've primarily considered letter writing campaigns and sharing anecdotes, and that is what I have been encouraging everyone to do, to email me, to email to Neil, and speak to your faculty, speak to your dean, speak to your representatives in the provincial government. So we can certainly have a discussion on what a campaign to collect signatures that would look like, what logistics we have to go through, and kind of the timeline on how do we want to get through to that. So Mike has put my email in the chat. If you are available, I'd be very happy to chat about what this campaign can look like. Yeah, and the second question is what can be done to support the GSA reps for the December 11th BOG meeting. So I asked everyone to send all of your good vibes to Tennille because she is our BOG rep, and she will be the one going through the December 11th BOG meeting. And like we've already mentioned, send us your questions, your concerns, things you want us to consider, things you want us to raise to Tennille so she can appropriately address that at the board level.
Thank you, Christine.
And I just realized like not everyone may have seen this proposal because we presented it at the Graduate Representative Council, which everyone's welcome to. But if you haven't seen it and you're interested in the nuances of the ones that I talked about, I kind of assumed that everyone had seen it, but I know that some people haven't. So if you haven't, please reach out to myself or Christine and we can walk you through the presentation we gave at the Representative Council, just in case anyone is missing that information.
Thank you. I'll move on with a question to Kira. So I don't have the right technology to do my TA duties. Are there any supports available for students?
Yeah, so I've actually heard this quite frequently since people are now working from home when they weren't before and they had the use of their office space. So in the collective agreement, it does state that the university, the employer, is supposed to supply the workers or the TAs, RAs with the necessary workspace and resources to complete their duties. So I do know that the university has provided office space or classroom spaces, I think particularly in EEEL, for those students that do wish to be on campus or their home space isn't really adequate for performing your TA duties, or I guess that mostly applies to TAs. So that should be available to you, and you probably have to discuss that with your department head, who probably knows more than the instructor that you're working with. And as far as resources, again, if you don't have the resources to perform your duties, then you need to have different duties, and it doesn't mean that you lose your contract. If it's taking you 3 times as long to perform a task because you don't have a fancy pen or iPad, then it takes you 3 times as long, and those are still worked hours. Just because you're less efficient doesn't mean that you should be getting paid less per hour. So these are all things that are in the contract. And if you're getting pushback with any issues like that, reach out to me, the Labor Relations Committee, and we will push back for you. But there shouldn't be any pushback in that regard. It's in the contract.
Thank you. The next question is for Alex. So who do I speak to if I feel that I'm not enjoying the online course instruction quality as before, and if I feel that my learning and my grades are being impacted by the online environment?
Thanks, Marcella, for that question. So there's a couple of avenues with this actually. The first avenue, as I mentioned earlier about the student supervisor conflicts, you can email me to have a discussion about this and what's your experience. So again, VPA gsa@ucalgary.ca. I'm sure the staff will throw it up there for you. The second option is going to your graduate program director or graduate program administrator. They can also help with this issue as well. And it's good to bring these concerns up to them. The other place that you could actually bring this up is to FGS. You can actually talk to an assistant there who might be able to help with the issue depending on what it is exactly with your course. But specifically when you come to me, I sit on 4 teaching and learning committees across university, and I'm able to take any ideas you have or any major issues that you're experiencing and bring this to them and advocate on changes that you would like to see to your courses. So if you do have any concerns, please, please, please email me. Thanks.
Thank you, Alex. I think that's a follow-up question for Tennille. Is the BOG meeting live streamed? Can the students watch what happens inside a Board of Governors meeting?
Oh, that's such a fun question. Thank you. So typically the BOG, like pre-COVID, pre-pandemic world, the BOG meeting was held in a big boardroom with only 17 observer seats. And so there was a restriction onto how many people could come and watch. Now they're on Zoom. So it'll be very similar to this. And so they are live streamed essentially, if you want to attend and watch. Not all of it. So the open session in the BOG meeting is the open session for everyone to attend. And then there is portions of the meeting that observers aren't allowed in. But the tuition piece should be in the open session. I haven't gotten the agenda yet, but that's typically how it is. So yeah, I encourage you to sign up. And I don't know that we have the information of how an observer signs up yet because it's still over a week away, but we should get that information shortly and we can share that with graduate students that want to be observers in this meeting.
Awesome, that's exciting. Thank you. So the next question is for Christine. And it's on the provincial budget. So what will the GSA be advocating for? Are we still fighting against tuition hikes?
Of course we're fighting against tuition hikes. Thank you for that question. So that's actually perfect timing because we actually just finalized our budget submission today. I'm happy to share that things we will be advocating for are sustained mental health funding. We recognize how important that is for graduate students. We are advocating for sustained professional development funding. We are advocating for student aid program to shift away from loan and more into a grant-based system. And that is something we fought very hard on in our tuition discussion. And we will be fighting for international student quarantine support, like Tennille and Mary have already mentioned. We will be advocating for more micro-credentialing and stackable certificates, for more commercialization and entrepreneurship opportunities for graduate students who are not considering staying in academia afterwards, and they can take all of their excellent research to the industry. Yeah, and I want to mention that the provincial budget should be released sometimes around February. And there is actually a survey out right now asking everyone, how do you feel about the provincial budget and what should we be spending money on? I can put that link in the chat. I want everyone to take a second, fill it out, tell the provincial government how important it is for them to fund the post-secondary sector.
Thank you, Christine. So the next question is for Kabira, and it's on the health and dental plan. So what should I do when I haven't heard back about my claim yet?
Thank you. That's an excellent question. Usually there's a bit of a time between when you submit a claim and then you get a turnaround. So I would ask you to wait at least 1 week before you hear back from them. But if you do not hear back, then please feel free to reach out to us. So my email or also to askgsa@ucalgary.ca, so that we can make sure that we reach out to student care and see what is happening, and if they received your claim or they did not, or if there was some glitch. And yes, so just two things. One is just wait at least 7 days, and second is if you still don't hear back, then just reach out to us and we will be sure to reach out to them and get an answer for you as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. This question is for Alex. So because of COVID, some students are facing a lot of financial burdens. So does the GSA have awards, bursaries, grants, and how do we apply for them?
Thanks, Marcella. So this is a question I get asked all the time, which is what awards, bursaries, and grants does GSA have? So I'm going to give you a quick summary, so you can be more than well aware of what we have for you. First of all, in the fall term, we have the GSA Graduate Citizenship Award, and in the winter term, we have some other awards such as the Emerging Leader, the Leadership Award, and the Excellence Awards, would have to do with, for example, you as a TA, it has to do with supervisor awards, and so on. And you can see all these awards on the GSA website. Next up is the bursaries. So there's the emergency bursary. That's done through the register, but you can see the link on our website as well to apply for that. Then there's the actual GSA bursary, and that happens every winter and every fall and winter semester. The last thing we have is the professional development grant. This is a grant for $750 that you can apply for, that you can use, for example, if you just did some training, or let's say you went for a workshop or did a conference. All you got to do is submit your receipts and fill out the form. Really easy to do, and you might be able to get $750 to help you pay for that expense. So thanks for the question.
Thank you, Alex. So the next question is for Christine. The student says that it would be great during pandemic times and online environment to have access to a proposal like we had at the GRC meeting on the tuition fee. Do we have a similar one to the government proposal that you just talked about? I believe it's about the provincial budget that students could access.
Yeah, of course. So as soon as we submit that to the government, we will have it posted on the GSA website. So you will have the same level of access to what we are advocating for. And I want to reiterate that we do that for all of our major documents we submit to the government. None of them are secrets. They're all posted on our website. And of course, you're always, if you have any questions, you're always welcome to email me to ask me about specific items in our proposals.
Thanks, Christine. So the next question is for Tenio, and it's on EDI. So a new initiative you were doing was creating an EDI, Equity, Diversity and Inclusion Committee, sorry. Why have I not seen anything about this yet?
For sure, awesome, thank you. So over the summer, it was brought up that we need an EDI structure within the GSA. And so as a response to that, we felt it was a good idea to create an EDI committee that would address the EDI issues that we're seeing. And so we made that initial leap into that world, and we formed our EDI committee. And so far, we've just been advertising it at the Graduate Representative Council. We have a handful of members and GSA exec and staff on the committee. And right now what we're doing is we're just looking at collectively creating a terms of reference for the committee, which would kind of outline the responsibilities and duties of what the EDI committee of the GSA would do. We're always looking for new members. So if you ever are interested, please reach out to me at pres.gsa@ucalgary.ca. And please reach out and just show your interest that you would like to be part of this. Once we have kind of a idea of what the committee members want to do with this committee, after learning a lot about kind of EDI framework and structure, it's really important that we don't just create something and expect people to conform to it. We really want that collective opinion to be formed into this. And so we will put out a kind of more traditional call out for committee members. And then we're going to do another round of developing the terms of reference with those new perspectives. So it's a slow process, but we want to do it right and do it well rather than rush to creating something that isn't actually addressing the issues we want it to address. So please hang on. You'll hear things shortly. And if you're interested in joining the kind of the first round of developing the terms of reference, let me know and we're happy to have you on the team.
Awesome. Thank you, Taniel. So I think this question is for Alex. So with the tuition increase every year, students will have a big financial burden, and the GSA already has bursaries and the proposal for increasing in funding seems to help some students. Do we know the percentage of students that are being helped by our initiatives, such as the bursaries and awards?
Thanks for the question. So in the case of the bursaries, we would know how many students are being helped. The reason why we do this is we know the amount of students who have obviously applied through the GSA for the bursary, as well as how many have actually received that bursary. So the exact percent I wouldn't be looking at right now, but I could go back and get that information for you if you would like that. All students, I just want to mention, are allowed to apply for the GSA bursary. So there's nothing stopping you from applying, especially if you're in financial need. Now, with the increased funding that you're asking about, that's, I think you're referring to the minimum funding that Taniel and I are currently working on. And with that, so when I talk about the $18,000 for minimum funding for PhD students, that affects all PhD students and who are thesis based. And for master's students, like I said, there is no minimum funding right now for them. So if you're a master's student doing research, technically your supervisor wouldn't have to pay for you. Now, most supervisors do, which is great. But the question is that really enough? So the amount of students you'd be helping, actually be helping a large proportion of students if you're able to increase that minimum funding. But like I said, if you want the exact numbers, especially with the bursary, please let me know. Feel free to contact me and I can get you those numbers.
Thank you, Alex. Just a follow-up from that, is the minimum funding policy going to affect only new students or current students as well?
That's another great question. And this is something me and Taniel are really working hard on, is trying to determine if it's just going to affect like those, like you just mentioned, students who are currently researching or currently a student here, or the new incoming students. We're hoping that would affect all students, but right now that's up for debate. So we're working hard to see if we can put that in place. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, it would be great to have for our students. With that, I would like to thank you everyone for coming and attending our town hall. This wraps up our town hall for today. I want to thank everyone who is attending, and I want to give oh, sorry, someone is in my front door and Google is telling me that. So I'd like to thank especially our staff members who are doing a lot of work on the background scene for everything to work properly at the GSA. I also would like to thank our execs and our AVP Labour for being here and answering all the questions. And remember that you can always reach out to the GSA team, to the execs, and to the staff members via email or through our website and social media channels. I hope everyone has a great Thursday evening, and I hope to see you all soon in another town hall maybe. Thank you.